In today's video, I want to talk about my failures, especially when it comes to fish. Recently, I've encountered quite a few issues when it came to acclimating fish or introducing fish into my aquariums, and I figured I would record a video to talk about it. The aquarium that you see behind me is my water box system. Let me check my aquatic log app. It's 5 months and 3 days old, and while I've introduced a lot of fish from my other aquariums, the previous one that I had, which was a 5-footer, this one behind me is 7 feet long. The fish that you see in this aquarium, they come from 2 different systems. And I figured that this was such a large aquarium that this was a good opportunity for me to introduce a few more fish. Now, I have been keeping fish all my life. Last 15 years I've been keeping saltwater fish, and while I started out with pretty simple fish, and I've been documenting all of my trials and tribulations in the past 10 years of this YouTube channel. I try to post this weekly. I did run into quite a few issues even in the past. One of the most troubling ones was everything that had to do with the powder blue tang. So the one that you see behind me is probably my 6th or 7th tang. Just for the longest time when I was trying to keep it, I had issues. They had to do with me not getting a healthy specimen and then not figuring out how to quarantine it properly, how to feed it properly. And I've documented it, and I think that I did a pretty good job eventually of cracking that nut. The aquarium that you see behind me, this powder blue tank that's in it is probably 4 years old, and knock on wood, he's been doing very well. I have another one in my farm that is also great, and even I have a powder brown in the same aquarium. I don't recommend that you do this, but if you can get away with lots of rock space as well as the just the size of the aquarium, proof is in the pudding. It's possible, but to this day they kind of go at each other once in a while, but it's never been a major issue. Now, where things start to get a little bit dicey is my recent experiences with the other 2 fish. And again, if you go back and just look in the past few videos on this channel, you'll see that I try to be as transparent as possible about my successes, but also failures. And I had 2 recent ones that I really want to talk about today, primarily for 2 reasons. One is the fact that while a lot of folks that watch this channel may be new to the hobby, I just want to kind of give a little bit of my thoughts of just my experience. Just know that whether you're new or not, everybody goes through this, and hopefully if you don't make the same mistakes, you will hopefully get something out of this channel and viewing this. The second is to all the folks that are kind of maybe more experienced. You can see kind of what I do, and maybe this will dispel a few myths together. Now, let's start with the first case, which is the Copperband. I've kept a few Copperband fish successfully, and I must say that every time when I kept one that was successful, it was pretty much a fluke. Now, let me elaborate a little bit about it. First, when I was just starting out in the hobby, I didn't even know what to look for when I would go to the store. And a lot of times when you're buying something at the store, especially 10 years ago, things were just not even at the same level as they are right now. But also, fish were a lot cheaper. And I think maybe the number, or even the quality of the fish, or the frequency that the fish were coming in was higher at the time, in my opinion. Now it's a little bit tougher to find good specimen. But I would go to the store, and a couple of times I would pick up a Copperband and I would introduce it into my aquarium, and it would eat. I just lucked out, and that particular fish, it only frozen, but it ate it very well, and I had it in my tank for probably over a year, and just at some point I wanted only fish that would eat dry goods, because if I would travel or go away, I didn't want to always be dependent on the frozen food. So I sold it at that time. Now, I regret it dearly. And why? Because when I've introduced that particular fish, I realized recently that it's so hard to get a good Copperband. Most of the fish that you get, I think when it comes to Copperband, half of them will not eat at all. Some of them will be very finicky, and then you start going up the whole thing about it's going to eat the brine shrimp, but it will not eat a mysis shrimp, and then you have to do a whole bunch of different things. So let me talk a little bit about my experience with the Copperbands. I did notice a little bit of hyptasia in the tank. I figured, well, let's get a Copperband. I also like Copperbands a lot, so I wanted to just get them. I went to the store. I bought one. I always now, in the past probably 3-4 years, if I get any fish, I always make sure that they feed it at the store. And the Copperband would eat. I would never buy a fish if it doesn't eat at the store and is not really hungry. Now, I got the Copperband. I've introduced them into my quarantine system, and guess what? Over the day or maybe 2 days, it started to really lose interest in food. And we're talking about an established quarantine system. This is something that has been. I've quarantined a lot of fish over the past few months, so it's an established good biological filtration, the whole 9 yards. Now, and good water change as well. However, that's just how it worked. Unfortunately, the fish would refuse the food, and there's nothing that I could do about it. Now, I documented it on the channel, and I had so many suggestions, which I really appreciate, and a lot of folks were giving me a whole bunch of different kind of suggestions for what to do, as well as referencing other videos and their experiences and their friends' experiences, and this is what worked for them, and I really appreciate it. Now, this time I tried to do everything that I was told. I went to a local seafood store, and I got the clams, and I brought them in. They were live clams. I would break them up. I would tie a ribbon onto the rock, put it in, no bite. I would do other type of food. I would add some additives that some folks suggested. I would do not the live worms, but I did the blood worms. You name it. Nothing at all. And eventually that particular Copperband died, unfortunately. I said to myself, I'm not going to have any more Copperbands. And next time I'm at the store, shout out to Big Al's in North York. I see another Copperband, and I see he is eating voraciously. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, something's off. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe the fish that I got was just not hungry enough, or just not as interested in this. So anyways, I've decided to try it again. And I got another fish, again, separate quarantine system. Then I put it into a separate aquarium that's connected into the farm. So it's good water, in my opinion. Everything is great. And I keep feeding him. And this guy is eating like no tomorrow. So eating a lot. And yet, over time, he was just eating maybe less. Maybe it was just not picking up enough. Or maybe I wasn't feeding enough. I don't know. But at the end, it died. So that was kind of, it's pretty sad. I'm really bummed out about it. But I don't know. I don't think I'll ever get a Copperband again unless I'd get it from another hobbyist that has kept one in their aquarium for a year or even more, and they are thinking of parting it for whatever reason. So if you are in Greater Toronto area and you have a Copperband for me, please reach out. I mean, I'd be more than happy to home one and host it here, and that's the Copperband. I'll get to the moral of the story after the second fish. So let's talk about the second fish. This is another fish that I've had on my list for a very long time. This is the one that I wanted. It's a fish. It's a tang. It's a surgeon fish, and this particular one is a clown surgeon fish. It's clown tang. Beautiful fish, gorgeous. A lot of folks say that it is. Got horrible, aggression and behavior, but I was really impressed with the video I shot recently at the store of Demo at Reef Paradise, and you can see that he's got a little bit bigger tank than I do. I think it's a 10-footer. This one is 7 feet, but he's got a beautiful large Sohal tank and clown tank. So, and I've been doing this for long enough where I wanted a little bit more challenge, maybe a little bit more exotic fish. You can't blame a guy for thinking that, because if you, again, I've done a lot of videos of other aquarists out there recently, and most fish are exactly the same. Everybody's got a purple tank, a yellow tank, a sailfin, and some anthias and whatnot. So I figured I wanted something a little bit different. Not to knock on those fish. Those fish are phenomenal and whatnot, but you want a little bit of variety. So the recent video I shot with Aaron, he's got a pufferfish. That was really awesome, and I think that this is a great fish to have. Now, before I introduce the clown tang, the fish number one on my list for such a large aquarium was Sohal tang. And I think I really lucked out with the Sohal. He's beautiful. I got him introduced to the tank. He's clearly the king of the tank. He's still small. I think I have a few years before he's going to outgrow this tank, but he's probably at the moment my number one favorite fish. I just love that coloration, everything about the fish, the way he swims, his attitude. He's awesome. But I wanted to do what I've seen somebody else do, which is keep both of them, and I figured, well, let's give it a try. At the end, this is kind of part of the hobby as well, to try those type of things. I was able to do it with the powder brown and blue, powder blue tank, so why not try it there? So I thought. So I get the clown tank. The first clown tank, I had some issues with some parasites. I didn't make it through the quarantine. I got another clown tank, which was great. It's about the same size as the Sohal tank. I didn't want to introduce anybody bigger, so I've got that clown tank. Had him in a quarantine for some time. He was eating, everything was great, and I put him into the tank behind me about a week ago. So I did that, and the Sohal went at him like no tomorrow. Immediately they started fighting. You can, if you go back in the previous video to this one, you will actually see me recording this. So I saw that. I immediately caught the clown tang, and I moved it to the quarantine for a night. And then as I posted the video, a lot of folks started writing in, and I think it's kind of a split. 50% were, don't do it, buddy, just not a good idea. And then another 50% are saying things like, well, you know, get the acclimation box. You should have done the acclimation box. You should have done the mirror. And, you know, as somebody as experienced as you have to do, you know, step 1, step 2. I really appreciate those comments. And I figured, like, I like feedback, I like criticism, and for me this is an opportunity to learn and to change, you know, maybe you know, some of my ways. So I figured, let's give it a benefit of the doubt, and so I did get my acclimation box and I put it in the tank, and I put the clown tang in there. And this is where the fun begins. The Sohal went at him almost immediately. So for the first hour, it was just crazy. Sohal was just kind of going, bidding on the box. Clown is like looking at him, what are you doing? But it didn't, obviously nothing happened. They went to sleep. The next day, Sohal was kind of still somewhat showing interest, but not as much. And then things started to really subside, and then like the following day, Sohal was just like ignoring clown tang. Clown tang is just chilling there. I feed him, everything is fine. And as the time progresses, I give it, I want to say 6-7 days before I would introduce the fish into the system. And I got things ready. I fed the fish. It was the evening. I also brought out the mirror. I took a large mirror that I have. It's my height, or if not even more. And I put him right next to the glass. And then I've took the acclimation box and I emptied it and got the clown tang into the tank behind me. And within minutes, clown tang got attacked by Sohal tang the same way as, you know, before the acclimation box. So he was just went at him, would not give him a second to breathe. Well, actually he would, because once in a while he would see himself in the mirror, and then he would come up, like kind of do a little bit of posturing, but then kind of figuring, I'm gonna go after the clown tang. So mirror didn't work, the acclimation didn't work. I give him maybe an hour, and I didn't see it improving. Now I could have waited, but maybe it's my own mileage. Like, I've been doing this maybe for too long. I just have very little tolerance for any type of aggression or violence in the aquariums. Maybe 10 years ago I would have let them settle, and then so be it. But now it like really bothers me, and so I decided I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to wait till the next day to see if clown tang made it and all of that stuff. So I went in with the net. I caught the clown tang. It was pretty easy because he was kind of in shock, and I put him in the farm. So he's there, and he seems to be doing all right for now. So that's what happened to the Sohal tang. And the clown tang. So the clown tang is now gonna be here. The Sohal basically said, "I'm the king," and that is it. What's the moral for me of this story? What's the summary? First of all, as I kind of started this video, for anybody who's new, just learn from this and don't be too discouraged. Things like this happen all the time, and it's a bummer, but it is what it is. So just don't be afraid to take the fish out, do whatever you can, and hopefully you may luck out and certain things will be more compatible, but also look at all the articles. I think Reef Builders just posted a nice article about dealing with aggression, and it's got a few really good points there about the size of the tank, the fact that certain fish of the same size and shape and color would go at each other. Although you can see I have a purple tang and a yellow tang in there, and they're doing fine. But clearly the Sohal and Clown, they look very similar, stripes, same body shape. So yes, this was my experience as well. Having lots of rock space also helps, no line of sight, all of that good stuff. But the second part is the one that really is the message, is referring to all those well-intended comments and suggestions from folks that I think are very anecdotal. So you have people saying, well, with the Copperband, you use mastic. That worked for me. And you know what? Actually, for the first one, mastic actually worked very well. He would eat it once in a while, but the second guy, for example, wouldn't eat it. And unfortunately, neither of them made it through the process. Use the mirror trick. It worked for me. I'm sure there's many people many fish that would react to it. Didn't work for me. Use the acclimation box. I've had very good success rate with acclimation box in the past for other fish. Didn't work this time around. So I guess what I'm trying to say is everything in this hobby is, or the majority of this hobby is anecdotal. I certainly learn from other aquarists, and when I talk to somebody I admire and I see their aquarium, and then let's say that person tells me, whatever you do, don't get a convict tang, because he, for example, had huge issues with convict tanks for whatever reason. Well, guess what? That deters me from having or keeping a convict tank, which kind of makes sense. And guess what? Recently I introduced one convict tank in my farm, and he's a sweetheart, and everything is great. And I spent 10 years not introducing convict tanks, or 5 years. I would go and somebody would say, same for the coral, don't use sand or use too much, X or Y. And it's anecdotal and it's very individual. And sometimes it will work, sometimes it's not. And those are suggestions. But even if it worked for somebody, it may not work for somebody else. I guess that's kind of the message that I'm trying to send out there. That I think everybody is well intentioned, and people are trying to help. And you think that if something, so in my husbandry, certain ways that I've kept things, like I've never had a nitrate problem ever. And I can probably tell you, well, that's because of my extra media that I put in. Like I have tons of live rock and stuff like that, and I would be certain of that. But I'm not. I don't know if that will work for somebody else, and maybe it's something else. Or I've never had an issue with Mantipora, for example. So Mantipora coral, I've never, I think, had one die on me ever. Like I'm just really good at that, and it's always been like I have a easy time keeping it. But I know folks that are like, okay, just don't. I don't want to do any Mantipora coral whatsoever. It's my kryptonite. And you know what? My kryptonite for a while were torches, and then Copperbands are my kryptonite. So guess some of it is us, some of it is just things that are not quantifiable, but they may be just particular to our system or to our fish. I don't know. In any case, I figured that is my message. So let me know what you think. This is it's a bit of a different type of video that I usually shoot. I usually do a little walk over different aquariums and talk about this, but this has been on my mind for a while, and I thought I'd put this in on the record, and hopefully somebody will benefit from that. Thank you for watching.